Hi there, it's Anne of Rosie Duck Designs here. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. For today's project, I'm featuring two of the current Sale-A-Bration rewards that are available while Sale-A-Bration lasts. So Sale-A-Bration will end on the 30th of September, and also all of the rewards are only available while supplies last. So before we get stuck into the project, all I would say is if you've been looking at Sale-A-Bration rewards and there's something that's caught your eye, then please don't delay in putting in that qualifying order, because you don't want to be disappointed. So at the moment, both of these are still available. They're effectively level 1 rewards, so spend £45 excluding postage and packing, and you can choose the stamp set or indeed the dies, and likewise the dies can be yours with the same amount of order. So place a £45 order excluding postage and packing, you can choose the dies. Effectively spend £90 and you can choose both of those rewards. If you are spending £90, there might be a case to think about actually joining, but that's another whole story. But there is a nice joining offer as well at the moment if you become a Stampin' Up demonstrator during Sale-A-Bration. There's a whole blog post about that. In fact, I think there's a couple of blog posts. So if that's of any interest to you, then please go over to my blog. The link will be on the front of the video and you can find out all about joining. But for the tutorial point of view, we're going to concentrate actually on the rewards that you can earn. So we're going to look at these two particular rewards. So the stamp set is a cling stamp set, and it's a 7-piece stamp set. 3 really cute sheep, a couple of sentiments and a little hat and a bit of grass. The coordinating dies, you get a fence. I've used that quite a lot and that's quite fun. I've got to say I'm not using that today, but I think there's a couple of posts on Facebook where I've actually used that. If I get a chance before the end of Sale-A-Bration, I'll come back and just add another, maybe a quick tutorial on that, or maybe just update my Facebook page with another image of the sheep jumping over the fence. You've got some clouds, you've got a sun, you've got the little element that cuts out the hat, and this is that old flag there we've got going on. Also a balloon, we're going to be using that today. So I'm going to put that to one side for a moment. And put that to one side. So you can see I've got all my bits and pieces already cut out to save time, but we will go through what I've actually done. So I've got, as my base card, I've got some balmy blue, and that is cut at 6x8, scored at 4 on the long side, and we're going on the landscape style this time. I should have said this is actually a congratulations card, a new baby congratulations card, or a new grandchild congratulations card that I'm actually making, and I thought the sheep were quite cute for that. So I've got a piece of Night of Navy cut at 3 3/4 by 5 3/4, or 9.5 by 14.5. In fact, I've actually got 2 of those. I've got a piece of basic white cut at 3.5 by 5.5. That's 14 by 9 centimetres. And then I've got a piece of this speciality linen paper, which is really, really lovely. It's got this beautiful feeling and texture of linen, kind of what it says in the name, but it really does feel like cloth to touch. Just going to come up slightly to the camera there. I'm not sure if you can see the weave. Comparing that with a flat piece of card. I've got a bar in my camera, or the bar of the arm that's holding it up, so I'm not it's probably blocking out the main bit here, but I think I'm just picking up the different textures. So this is the linen, this is your basic normal white card, but lovely, lovely texture, lovely feeling to that. Now that is available, is 12 by 12, 2 sheets, £5.50, and effectively this is what it will look like. And that's the packet, my little cut out sheet. But it's very sort of bendy, very nice to work with. So I thought I'd throw that into the mix as something that I haven't worked with before. So I'm going to have a bit of Night of Navy going on here. This is cut, if I didn't say, at 3.5 by 5.5, so that is 9 by 14. And then out of a piece of Balmy Blue, this is effectively 2 3/4 by 4. I have to be honest, I haven't measured that in metric because basically I've cut that out of a piece of Balmy Blue card using the Stitch So Sweetly dies. So that is the largest of those dies. So in effect I didn't have to measure that, but I'm just now sitting here thinking that you could have the same effect just cutting out a similar size piece of card, but it would have to be, it doesn't have to be, but this is round about the size of 2 3/4 by 4. So I will attempt to try and remember to convert that into metric and just put a little note on the front of the video. And then we've got some bits and pieces that are going to go onto the card. So I think the first sensible thing to do would be to actually put the card together. So let's start with the inside. Start with the one I'm in the middle of using. So I'm just going to centralise that in the middle. I've got to get out of the habit of this. Centralising means sort of sticking it in the middle, doesn't it? You know, let's be honest. I watch the videos back before I upload them in case I've made a total mistake, and it gets me every time. I think, of course, it's in the middle. That's what you're telling them to do, centralise it. So I do apologise. So I'm going to take my piece of basic white card. And I'm going to centralise this as well. So I've got a nice sort of two-tone blue border going around here. We're going to add some detail inside, but I'm going to come back to that. On the front, I'm going to stick a piece of the Night of Navy. Then my linen paper is going to go on the in the middle of that. It's the first time I've actually worked with this, so I'm kind of thinking it might need just that little bit of extra adhesive because it sort of lacks the sturdiness of the standard card. I wanted to make sure it's almost bending upwards. As you can see, I'm not doing anything to that, but it's got that flimsiness to it. So I actually want to make sure that my corners are going to stick down. I'm just going to go into the corners, by which time my hand will be stuck to it. There we go. I'm just going to pop that under my grid paper just to give it a bit of weight while I do this panel. It's going to go on the front. Now I've stamped the sheep this one, using Night of Navy. Again, because I've not used this before, but because I can feel the texture of this, what I would suggest you do is that you stamp on your piece of linen paper and then you just put it to one side. A bit like stamping on vellum, you don't want to stamp on vellum and immediately start cutting it out. You just need to make sure that it's dried. So I did exactly the same with this, put it to one side, got on with something else, and then came back and it was absolutely fine, and then I cut it out using the coordinating, not those, they're up here, the coordinating die. I had no problems with that whatsoever, but I just got this feeling that if you do it straight away it's going to possibly smudge. So the idea is I'm going to have the sheep here, I'm going to have some balloons going on over here, and then just a simple congratulations going across the top there. So the congratulations I've got from the Art Gallery stamp set. I'm going to use this one because it's quite a thin little stamp, and that's all I've really got room for. And I'm going to put that on, use Night of Navy for that. So I'm avoiding my sheep, but I just want an idea of where it's going to be so that I'm putting the congratulations where I want it. And I'm just going to put that on the top there. On the back of the sheep, or on the back of the linen paper, before I stamped the sheep and cut it out, I added some of the adhesive sheets to make it easy to stick the sheep down onto my project. If you've not come across these before, they're like almost like double-sided tape, but they are in sheet form. But they make it very easy to stick things down onto a surface. So they come like this, nice big sheets, and all you do is simply, assuming this is the bit of card you want to use, you just cut off a piece of your adhesive sheet, peel off one side of it. Now this is your sticky bit, so you want to avoid contact with that as much as possible, and then you just attach it to a piece of card that you want to work with. So for example, if I wanted to do another balloon, I would just then get my, I've got 3 sets of dies on this desk at the moment, and I'm confusing myself. So you would just place your die on there, run it through your die cut machine, and then you finish up with a balloon and some nice sticky adhesive sheet on the back, which will make it a lot easier to attach to your projects. So well worth having that in your supply of adhesives. So the next thing we're going to do is put the balloons on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going with 2 Night of Navy versions of the balloon, and then I'm just going to pop a balmy blue one on the top, something like that. The hardest bit of this is getting a nail behind it to release it, but it's worth the effort. Perhaps this is at the point I should pause the video. But you imagine trying to get some glue on that tiny piece of card and expecting it to stick. seriously, that's not going to happen, but with an adhesive sheet it's so simple. That's my first balloon. So I have another one coming down like so. And then that will go sort of just over the top. I think that will work. We shall see. So I want it in a similar line to this piece of the balloon string, although I want, as I say, the balloon a little bit lower. And then finally a balmy blue version of the balloon. I do like a balloon stamp or a balloon die because you can sort of add them to so many celebratory cards. So there we go, there's our balloons. And what I then did, which has got nothing to do with the stamp set we're using at the moment, but I remembered in the Hippo and Friends dies there was this little die that made a bow tie, but it's also like a little bow as well. So I thought, you know, let's go for that and add a bow to the balloons. The only silly thing I didn't do was cut this out with an adhesive sheet on the back, so I am actually going to add a bit of glue to this. I'm just going to pop that down the bottom there where all the strings are. And then I'm going to add some Wink of Stella to the balloons. Now I could have done it before I stuck them on, but there's no problem doing them after you've stuck them on. That way you're only doing the bit that is going to show on the card. So whatever works. Whatever works for you, I should say, because both ways will work. And you could add a few little embellishments maybe on there if you wanted to. I'm keeping it plain. All I'm going to do right at the end is add a little clear rhinestone there, just to pretty up that bow. So this has had a bit of time to just make sure it's nice and flat and stuck. So we're going to then decorate the inside of the card. So I've used another, put that somewhere safe, I've used another sheep. I've used this one and it's coordinating die, which is that one. And again, when I stamped this, I just put it to one side until I was happy that it was dried, and then I ran it through my die cut machine. And again, this one has got no, this one hasn't got, I lied, this one hasn't got adhesive on it. I'm just trying to rip the paper away from the back of the linen. That's right, I vaguely now remember thinking, oh, that'll be right, that will just stick down normally. So ignore that, but you could, of course, you could use adhesive sheets. You probably noticed me doing this quite a bit during a video. It's just the glue just needs to wind round, so if it feels like it's stuck, the Stampin' Steel, just get your fingers behind it and move it along. Adhesive sheet would have been so much easier. Note to self, but that's fine, that will stick. So I'm just going to pop that in the corner. like so. I'm going all over here to write a little message, and again I'm just going with the same balloon design, but I'm not bothering with the bow on this. So I'm going to have the balloons, because it's like its paw, its hoof, is it, or whatever. The sheep's foot is holding the balloons, so I might have a smaller one there, a larger one here, and then the blue one, a larger string, a longer string, sort of something like that. So I'm going to cut a little bit of the string off of this one. And again, you could put some Wink of Stella on it before you stick them down, or you can do as I've done on the front and just use Wink of Stella on the bits that are going to show. So I'm going to have that so it looks like he's actually holding the balloon. And we're going to go with a longer one up here. And then we're going to have the balmy blue one there, so I'm just going to chop a little bit off of the end here. Now you could have exactly the same design going on the envelope. I'm just going to mix it up a little bit on the envelope. I'm going to have a sheep, but I'm going to save time, if I'm honest, because it's quite boring sitting here watching me pull bits of balloon off, isn't it? But I'm going to just use the balloons from the Penguin Place stamp set. It's a nice balloon, and it's also easier when it's got to go through the post. These are quite nice, and I'm sure they'll be fine through the post, but I think there's always a danger that it could get caught and pulled off. So there we go. That is our balloons. Let me just put some Wink of Stella on it, having said that that's what I'm going to do. By adding that Wink of Stella, although the strings and the balloons are the same colour, you're in effect making the balloon stand out from the string. The blue balloon even is going to have the shimmery part showing. So that's the inside of the card. Clear the debris away. Let's find my front of the card. I'm just going to attach that now with some stamping dimensionals. So more pulling paper off backs of things. And they're going to need a few on here to make sure that it sticks nicely. Probably being a little bit over generous, but they're not expensive stamping dimensionals, so I always work on the basis, why be stingy with them? If you put enough on, you're going to make sure it stays exactly where you want, and there's not going to be any sort of bits in the middle where it is sagging because it's lacking some support, possibly over the top here. But that is not going anywhere when I actually get round to sticking it down. So great stamp set this, and the dies, and I've used it to make some thank you cards. I've used it for a number of different occasions, but I just thought it also lent itself, it's so cute that it lent itself to a baby card, so I thought I would at least feature the stamp set and dies to make one. And obviously if you wanted a pink version, you could mix it up with maybe some polish pink. That would work really well. So I'm going to put this in the middle. And there we have our finished card. So I'm just going to do the envelope, and I'm literally just going to stamp the sheep. I'm going to put that card somewhere safe. So we'll have the same sheep. I quite fancied the one that went upwards, but it's going to go up here, which is kind of where the stamp goes, so I just thought, no, maybe not. Again, if you were giving it to somebody rather than posting it, that would be fine to put it in that on that side. I try to think of the post office. So I'm going to just put the fun little sheep there. As I said, you could add your balloons that we've used, the stick-on balloons, but I'm just going to go with, to make life a bit easier, I'm going to go with the balloon that is in the Penguin Place stamp set. So because I've got a dark blue sheep, I'm going with a light blue balloon to start with, so a balmy blue balloon. Clean my stamp off with my chamois. Then a nice navy balloon I'm going to put somewhere over there. And I'm just going to put a couple of balloons on the back. No idea what that is. Ink from somewhere. Let's stick a balloon over it. And maybe another one just going over here. And again, I'm just going to pretty that up with some Wink of Stella. I'm just going to do the front. I will probably put some Wink of Stella on the back, but there's only so many balloons that you want to sit through, isn't there, that somebody's sticking Wink of Stella onto. So I've said this before, but £7.50 is what the Wink of Stella costs, and yet it's such a brilliant extra that you can add to your projects. So I always know when I've been waffling on for far too long because my tablet always cuts out. So I'm going to keep this very brief. I'm just going to finish off the card with a clear rhinestone, and I'm just going to stick that into the middle of my little bow there, just to give that some structure. So there we have our finished card and the envelope. So both of these stamp set and dies I've used are Sale-A-Bration Rewards, but the other things that I've been using, other products, are all current. So You can find all the details on my online shop. I will put a link to that on the front of this video. So thank you so much for joining me. If you've enjoyed the video, I would love it if you'd like to subscribe to my channel. That would be brilliant. I will be back with another project in the not too distant future, but until then, please take care. I will see you very soon. Bye for now.